Hello, welcome to Little Knits. I am Maria, the two hands behind Little Knits. And finally, I will work for this tutorial a set, a beautiful set, one of my favorites, which I called the Oliver set. This time I will start with the size for 9-12 months old. We will work short sleeve bodysuit with a beautiful collar and a pixie hat. I'm sorry that I don't have one set done to show you, but I promise you it will look very, very beautiful. Actually, this set was the choice of many people who follow me on Instagram, and there was where I post a picture with 4 variations of this set, and the most voted was this one that I will work today. So for this project I choose to work with stone wash again from Sheep Shears, only because I think it is a good quality yarn. It is not expensive, at least I think it's not so expensive, and it's very popular. It's more easy for you to find it probably all over the world, and because I will show you, hold on a second, I want to show you the gauge in case you don't have the same yarn. This is the gauge recommended for this type of yarn. 24 stitches, 32 rows in stockinette stitch for 10 by 10 centimeters or 4 by 4 inches, using, in my case, 3.5 millimeter needles or US 4. I do recommend you, of course, if it is possible, to use the same yarn I am using in my tutorials. Of course, if you want to work one of my tutorials, only because if you are a beginner, it is harder for you to make a swatch, to find the correct gauge to replace with other type of yarn. So mainly this is the reason I've decided for this size and this tutorial to use again stone wash from Sheep Shears. I will work with circular needles, as I said, 3.5 millimeter or US 4. These are 16 inches long from here to here, point to point. Also, we need stitch markers, scissors, double pointed needles when we will work the short sleeve, but this will be later in the tutorial. It's not necessary to have them now. We will work top down using the raglan method, and the picture I posted and was chosen for this tutorial had the sleeves normally worked in stockinette stitch, but I think I will change a little bit for this tutorial. And we also we will work bubbles and a beautiful color and a pixie bonnet. I choose to a bubble pixie bonnet we will make to match the romper. Again, I'm sorry that I don't have one ready to show you. It will be easier for you to see the progress in each step, comparing with the one finished, but I didn't have really the time to make another one just to show you here. But it will look exactly as you can see in the picture from the beginning of the tutorial. Now let's get started. What I love about this yarn, and I wish all the producers will make it so easy for us, is that you can easily work from the center here, the yarn, which is great, especially for me. Now we will start with the cast on. We will use the long tail cast on. You need 4 stitch markers. These are brand new. I didn't have the chance to use them, but I will now. So 4 stitch markers. Of course, you can use whatever stitch marker you want. You can make stitch markers from yarn, so it's not necessary to have a brand or something. These are from Knit Pro, in case you wonder. Okay, so using the long tail cast on method, we will cast on for 9-12 months. I will cast on 66 stitches using the long tail cast on method. So cast on 66 stitches. Of course, you can use whatever type of cast on you feel more comfortable. I am using this method. So we need 66 stitches. Remember that we are working top down, and we will have buttons on the back of the bodysuit, and I am making this set as photography prop in case you want to make it for your own baby. Remember that this one will have the buttons at the back, so it will be harder to use it with the diaper. In case you need to change the diaper, you need to take off the bodysuit, so you don't have buttons in between the legs. But of course, you can always change the pattern and add buttonholes down. So this way it will be easier to change the baby diaper. So continue to cast on until you have 66 stitches. I have my 66 stitches. I will make a knot here. And for my first row, which is the back side, I choose to purl all the stitches, and at the same time I am wrapping this remaining tail around my yarn. It will be easier for you to weave in end this tail when it's the time to do it. So row 1 is purl every stitch on this row. Okay, continue until you complete row 1. I've done row 1. Then on row 2, 3, 4 and 5 we will work one by one ribbing. One by one meaning you knit one, purl one, knit one, purl one. This is the repeat. So knit one, purl one, knit one, purl one, knit one, purl one, and this is what we are working on rows 2, 3, 4 and 5. And because we are working for the moment back and forth, on the back side you are working the stitches as they will appear. Okay, if you have a purl stitch, you will work a purl stitch. If you have a knit stitch, you will knit. I'm saying this in case somebody who is very beginner to know what to do. I will try to make this not very longer tutorial, but as you already saw, it's something I can do. I cannot make short tutorials only because I think for every garment there's a lot of info that needs to be explained and showed. So that's why my tutorials are so long. And maybe because my English is still hard to pronounce and understand. I hope you manage to understand what I am saying. So this is row 2, and remember, we continue to work in 1 by 1 ribbing, also row 3, row 4 and row 5. After my row 5, I will come back and work with you the next step. I've done row 5, and I already want to correct a mistake. At the beginning, at the tutorial, I said 9-12 months old. I am so sorry, this will be 12-18 months old. That's why I always say, please check out the description below, because in case I am making a mistake, I will make sure to correct in that description. So we are making this outfit, this knitted set for 12-18 months old. Okay, I've done row 5. This is how my work look. On row 6, we are purling all the stitches. So on row 6, purl every stitch. Row 6 is on the front side, or is the front side of our work. So on row 6, we purl every stitch. Maybe you are wondering, but why after those 1 by 1 rib we are working a purl row? Well, because at the end we will work a collar for this bodysuit, and having this purl row, it will be easier for us to pick up the stitches for the collar. So that's why I choose that this row 6 to work in purl stitch. I promise you, you will like the result of this tutorial. Okay, so I am almost done with row 6. On row 7, we also will purl. This will be the back side, but from now on, our first 4 stitches and the last 4 stitches, we are working in 1 by 1 rib. These will be edge stitches, and also here in this part we will make the first buttonhole on this row right now. So First we need to work for 4 stitches, 4 in rib stitch, and you can see them here. I have 1 knit, then I have 1 purl stitch, I have 1 knit stitch and 1 purl stitch. Now I will continue to purl until I reach my last 4 stitches, which also we will work in rib 1 by 1, but first we are making the first buttonhole. So this is row 7. Starting row 8, we will increase in raglan method. Almost at my last 4 stitches. Okay, so my last 4 stitches, you can see them. I have a knit stitch, purl, knit, purl, but also I need to work my first buttonhole. So what I will do is to knit the first stitch, yarn over, knit 2 together, and purl the last stitch. So I have, let me show you to understand. I have a knit stitch. My yarn over will be the purl stitch. I have a knit stitch and a purl stitch, so also in 1 by 1 rib. Okay, we've done row 7, and starting row 8 we need to increase. At the same time we will divide these 66 stitches in 4 parts. We will have first half of the back, then we will have the first sleeve, we will have the chest part, we will have the second sleeve and the other half of the back. You need 4 stitch markers and we will work like this. The first 4 stitches in 1 by 1 rib, I'm starting with a knit stitch, then a purl stitch, a knit stitch and a purl stitch. I already have 4 stitches on my right-handed needle. Then I continue to knit until I have 11 stitches on my right-handed needle. So I have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Let's count again. I have my first 4 stitches, edge stitches worked in 1 by 1 rib. and then 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Now I need to make one right. This is how this first increase is named. M1 R, make one right. So in between these two stitches, you can see this loop here. I will take this loop through the back of my work like this, place it on my left needle, and I will knit this loop in the front like this. Then I will knit one stitch, and now I can place my first marker. Let me show you again. So we've worked 11 stitches, 4 stitches is the edge, then 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Then we increased one stitch, we've made one stitch to right, then we knit the next stitch. Now this is until my marker, this is half of the back. Next we are separating the stitches now for the sleeve. Knit one stitch. Now we need to increase, we need to make one left, one to the left, one stitch to the left. This time I will take the loop between these two stitches, this one here, inserting the needle in the front like this, and I will knit this new loop through the back. And you already can see, let me show you so you can understand in case you didn't work this before. This is make one to right, and you can see his direction is to the right. And now I've made one to the left, and you can see the direction is through to left. And this is why when making one to the right, you are lifting the loop, inserting the needle through the back of the stitch, and when making one to the left, you are lifting the loop by inserting the needle in the front of the stitch, of the loop, sorry. Okay, now I need to knit 9 stitches. So I have one here, I've made an increase, now I need to knit 9 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now it's time to make another increase. To the right, make one to the right, and again I am inserting my left-handed needle through the back of this loop between the stitches. I lift this loop, and now I will knit normally this loop, And now I've made an increase. I will knit the next stitch and I will place another stitch marker. And these are the stitches between these two markers are the stitches for the first sleeve. So we've made knit one, then make one to the left, then knit 9 stitches, then make one to the right, then knit one, then place the stitch marker. Now we will work the chest part, the stitches for the chest part. Knit one, make one to the left, insert your needle in the front of this loop, lift this loop and work as a knit stitch through the back. Now knit the next 18 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Now make one to the right. So we are again increasing. We are inserting the left-handed needle. You see here, because I have a purl stitch on the front side and the purl stitch on the back side, it's like a garter stitch, and I have 2 loops here, 1 and 2. I am always lifting the one behind, you can see here. So now I need to make one to the right, so I am inserting my left needle in the back of this loop and knit this loop through the front. Now knit 1 stitch, place a marker, and these are the stitches, let me show you, for the chest part. So again, knit 1, make one to the left, knit 18 stitches, make one to the right, and knit 1, place the marker. Now we will work the stitches for the second sleeve. First, knit 1, then make one to the left. I am inserting my left-handed needle in the front of this loop. I'm lifting this loop and knit this loop through the back. Now knit 9 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now make one to the right. I am inserting my left needle through the back of this loop, lift this loop and knit this loop through the front. Then knit one stitch and place your last marker stitch. Again, for this part I knit one, make one to the left, knit 9 stitches, make one to the right, knit one and place the marker. Now we are working the remaining stitches for the second half of the back part. First, knit one, make one to the left, insert your left needle through the front of this loop, then knit through the back this loop, then knit the next 7 stitches, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And my last 4 stitches, I am working my last 4 stitches in 1 by 1 rib, and I am following here, not here. This row is a purl row, so I am looking down. I have a knit stitch, I work a knit, then a purl, a knit and a purl, my last stitch. And this is how my work look. Half of the back, the first sleeve, the front side, the chest, sorry, the second sleeve and the other half of the back. And here we also have the first buttonhole. From now on, we are working the back part and the chest part in stockinette stitch, also the sleeve, but on the sleeve we will work bubbles too. But I don't want to say more now. I will show you when we reach that part. So this was row 8. Now we are starting row 9. On row 9 we are working the first stitches edge in 1 by 1 rib as they appear. Knit 1, purl 1, knit 1, purl 1. Then I will continue to purl until my last 4 stitches. Like this. I have my marker, I slip my marker and continue to purl until the next marker. Like this. Again, slip the marker, continue to purl, sorry. So continue to purl until the last 4 stitches. I am almost there. I have my last marker, I slip the marker, continue to purl until the last 4 stitches. And now work the last 4 stitches in 1 by 1 ribbing. So as you can see, I have a knit stitch, then a purl stitch, then a knit stitch, then a purl stitch. And this was row 9. Row 10, as you can see, we will increase only on the front side of our work. So row 10, we start with the first stitches in 1 by 1 ribbing. So I have knit, purl, knit and purl. Now I will continue to knit the stitches until I reach the stitch before my marker. So my stitch before my marker. Now I need to make one to right, one to the right, one stitch to the right, one increase. So I am inserting my left needle in between these 2 stitches through the back, and I am lifting up this loop. Then I will knit this loop through the front, knit 1 stitch, slip the marker, knit 1 stitch. Now I am making one to the left, so I will insert my left-handed needle in between these 2 stitches through the front, lifting up the loop, and knit the loop through the back like this. Now we are working the first sleeve. What I am doing next is to knit 5 stitches, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In the next stitch, I will work the bubble. Remember, this is the sleeve, and for the moment we are working the bubbles only on the sleeves. So in the next stitch, we are working 5 stitches. So I knit 1 through the front, don't drop this stitch, knit 1 through the back. I have 2 stitches here. Again, knit 1 through the front. I have 3 stitches, 1 through the back. I have 4 stitches, sorry, and again work in the front of this stitch. Now I can drop this stitch. Now I have 5 stitches. I will turn my work. My God, this is my dog. Now I will purl these 5 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Turn the work. Now I will knit these 5 stitches together through the back loop. So you need very good pointed needles for working bubbles. I don't know if I have the best needles, but I will see. So I have these 5 stitches that I want to knit together like this through the back loop. Sorry. Like this. Now pull tight here and work, knit 5 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I am at the stitch before my marker. Now, sorry, I need to make 1 to the right, an increase. So I am inserting my left-handed needle through the back of the loop between these 2 stitches. Like this, I am taking this loop through the back, and now I will knit this loop through the front like this, and then knit 1 stitch and slip the marker, and we've worked the stitches for the first sleeve. Let's see. So I've knitted 1 stitch, then I've made 1 to the left, then I've knitted 5 stitches. In the next one I've made a bubble, then I knitted 5 stitches, then I've made 1 to the right, and then I knit the last stitch and I'm slipping the stitch marker. We are at the chest part. Knit 1, make 1 to the left by inserting your left needle and lifting up this loop through the front, and knit this loop through the back. Then knit until you reach the stitch before the marker. I reached my stitch before the marker. Now we need to make an increase. We are making 1 to the right. Insert your needle through the back of this loop and knit this loop normally. Then knit 1 stitch, slip the marker. Now we are working the second sleeve. Knit 1 stitch, make one to the left, insert your needle in the front of this loop and then knit this loop through the back. Then knit 5 stitches, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Make one bubble in the next stitch. First, we are making 5 stitches in this stitch, back and forth. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 5 stitches here. Turn the work. Purl these 5 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now knit together these 5 stitches through the back loop. Like this. Now pull tight here, pushing your bubble in the front of the work with your finger. Knit the next 5 stitches, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I am at my stitch before the marker. It's time to make another increase, to make one to the right, insert and lift this loop through the back and knit this loop, knit 1 stitch and slip the marker. So for the sleeve, we knit 1, make 1 to the left, knit 5, make 1 bubble, knit 5, make 1 to the right, knit 1, slip the marker. And the last part, the other half of the back, knit 1, make 1 to the left, knit until the last 4 stitches, my last 4 stitches I will work in rib 1 by 1 as they appear. Knit, purl, knit, purl. So knit, purl, knit and purl. And this, my friends, was row 10. And the work look like this. Between 2 rows of bubbles, we will have 5 rows in stockinette stitch. Also, between 2 increases, this is 1 to the right, my increase, and 1 to the left, I have always 2 knit stitches before and after every stitch marker. These knit stitches will give you a beautiful look of your raglan. You will see later. So this was row 10. On row 11, we are working the first 4 stitches in 1 by 1 ribbing, knit, purl, knit, purl. Then we purl every stitch on this row until we reach the last 4 stitches. So purl until your last 4 stitches. My last 4 stitches, I will work in 1 by 1 rib. So I have knit, purl, knit and purl. This was row 11. And now we are starting row 12. First, we are working the first 4 stitches in 1 by 1 rib. Work the stitches as they appear. Then continue to knit until the stitch before the marker. Now make one to the right. Knit one. Slip the marker. Knit one. Make one to the left. Knit until you reach the bubble. Now I am picking up this loop and knit together with the stitch of the bubble. I am doing this only because I want to make sure this bubble is fixed on the front side of the work. Now I am sure that it won't turn inside my work. Continue to knit until the stitch before the marker. Make one to the right. Knit one, slip the marker, knit one. We are at the chest part. Make one to the left. Now knit until you reach the stitch before the next marker. I reach my stitch before the marker. Now make one to the right. knit 1 stitch, slip the marker, knit 1 stitch. We are at the second sleeve. Make 1 to the left, knit until you reach the bubble stitch, lift this loop here and knit together with the bubble stitch. Continue to knit until the stitch before the next marker. Make 1 to the right, knit 1, slip the marker, knit 1, make 1 to the left, continue to knit until you reach your last 4 stitches. Work your last stitches as they appear in 1 by 1 rib. And this was I don't remember what row was this, 12 or 14. My God. So 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. I think this was row 14. I hope I'm not making a mistake. So this was row 12. I counted again the rows. Now we are ready to start row 14. Working the first 4 stitches as they appear in rib 1 by 1, and then continue to purl until the last 4 stitches, and then work those last 4 stitches as they appear in rib 1 by 1, and I will come back and work with you row 14. Row 14, work the first 4 stitches as they appear in rib 1 by 1, then continue to knit until you reach the stitch before your marker. Now make 1 to the right, knit 1, slip the marker, and now we are working the sleeve. Knit 1, make 1 to the left, knit until you reach the stitch before the marker, so we are on row 14, and you just need to repeat to myself to not forget. My stitch before the marker, make 1 to the left, oh, 1 to the right, sorry, 1 to the right. Before the marker, it's 1 to the right. Knit 1, slip the marker, knit 1. Now we are working the chest part. Make 1 to the left, knit until the stitch before the next marker, I am almost there. Now make 1 to the right, knit 1, slip the marker, knit 1, make 1 to the left. We are working the second sleeve. Knit until you reach the stitch before the marker, the next marker. Make 1 to the right, knit 1, slip the marker, knit 1, make 1 to the left, knit until the last 4 stitches, work the last 4 stitches as they appear. Knit, purl, knit, purl. This was row 14. My work is growing. As you can see, now we can see where we are increasing. You can switch to a larger cable needle. I have these that are 16 inches, and I will continue with this pair. Row 15, work the first 4 stitches as they appear in 1 by 1 rib, then continue to purl until you reach your last 4 stitches, then work those last 4 stitches as they appear in one by one rib, and I will come back for row 16. I'm ready to start row 16, but before that I want you to count your stitches from the beginning of the row until the first marker, which is my half of the back. I have 16 stitches. At the first sleeve, from marker to marker, I have 19 stitches. At the chest part, from marker to the next marker, I have 28 stitches. Again, 19 for the sleeves, the second sleeve, sorry, and another 16 stitches for the other half of the back. Maybe you want to know how many stitches you have or you should have until now. Let's work row 16. The first 4 stitches we are working as they appear. Then we continue to knit until the stitch before the marker. Like this. Now we are making one to the right, then knit 1 stitch, slip the marker, knit 1 stitch, make one to the left, now knit 5 stitches, and in the next stitch we are making a bubble. So in the next stitch we are working 5 stitches. By knitting this stitch back and forth 5 times. 3, 4, 5. Now turn the work and purl these 5 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Turn the work. Now knit together these 5 stitches through the back loop. Pull tight here and push the bubble with your finger in the front. Knit 5 stitches, 1, 2, 3, 5, 4, sorry, 5. Now I have 5. And make another bubble. So in the next stitch I am working 5 stitches. I am knitting this stitch back and forth 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Turn the work. Now purl these 5 stitches. Turn the work. Now knit together these 5 stitches through the back loop. Now pull tight this stitch, push the bubble in the front and continue to knit until you reach the stitch before the marker. Now make one to the right. Knit one, slip the marker, knit one, make one to the left, and continue to knit until you reach the stitch before the next marker. We are working at the chest part right now. So remember, we are at row 16. Okay, now make one to the right, knit one, slip the stitch marker, knit one, make one to the left, knit 5 stitches, make one bubble in the next stitch by knitting 5 stitches in the same stitch back and forth. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now turn the work, purl these 5 stitches, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Turn the work. Now knit together these 5 stitches through the back loop. Pull tight and push the bubble in the front. Then knit 5 stitches. In the next stitch, make another bubble. So we are working 5 stitches in this next stitch, back and forth. 2, 3, 4, and 5. Turn the work. Purl these 5 stitches. Now knit these 5 stitches together through the back loop. Be careful to not catch the next stitch. Okay, so always count how many you have here. You need 5. So insert your needle through all the stitches, all 5, through the back, and knit them together. It's a little tricky because I don't have the best pair of needles. Now push the bubble in the front and pull tight this stitch. Then knit until you reach the stitch before the marker. Now I am at the stitch before the marker, make one to the right, knit one, slip the marker, knit one, make one to the left, and continue to knit until you reach your last 4 stitches, and then work those last 4 stitches as they appear. If you have a knit, knit. If you have a purl, purl. Again, knit and end with a purl stitch. So this was row 16. On row 17, and on every row on the back of your work, work the first 4 stitches as they appear in rib 1 by 1 or 1 by 1 rib. Then continue to purl until the end, actually until the last 4 stitches, and then work those last 4 stitches again as they appear in 1 by 1 rib. And I will come back and work with you row 18. Row 18, work the first 4 stitches as they appear, then knit until the stitch before the marker, now make one right, one to the right, knit 1 stitch, slip the marker, knit 1, make 1 to the left, knit until the stitch bubble, pick up this loop here and knit together with the stitch, knit until the next bubble, pick up again this loop and knit together with the stitch, continue to knit until the stitch before the next marker, make 1 right, knit 1, slip the marker, knit 1, make 1 to the left, knit until the stitch before the marker, make one to the right, knit one, slip the marker, knit one, make one to the left, knit until you reach the bubble, pick up this loop here and knit together with the stitch, knit until the next bubble, pick up this loop here and again knit together with the stitch, continue to knit until you reach the stitch before the next stitch marker, make one to the right, knit one, slip the marker, knit one, make one to the left, continue to knit until you reach the last 4 stitches, work the last 4 stitches as they appear. On row 19, we are working the first 4 stitches as they appear, and then we purl until we reach the last 4 stitches. I will come back once I reach my last 4 stitches. I reach my last 4 stitches, and it's time to make the second buttonhole. I want to show you. I have from the first buttonhole, I count like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 rows. So between 2 buttonholes, we work 10 rows. So we are knitting 1 stitch, yarn over, knit 2 stitches together, and purl the last stitch. This was row 19. After row 19, you should count 18 stitches in the first half of the back. For the first sleeve, you should have 23 stitches. For the chest part, you should have 32 stitches. The second sleeve, another 23 stitches for the second sleeve, and another 18 stitches for the other half of the back. Okay, we are at row 20. Work the first 4 stitches as they appear. So I start with a knit, purl, I will knit my yarn over from the previous round and purl 1 stitch. Then continue to knit the stitches until you reach the stitch before the marker. Now make one to the right, knit one, slip the stitch marker, knit one, make one to the left, continue to knit the stitches until you reach the stitch before the next marker. Again, make one to the right, knit one, slip the marker, knit one, make one to the left, continue to knit until you reach the stitch before the next marker. Now make one to the right, knit one, slip the stitch marker, knit one, make one to the left, continue to knit until you reach the stitch before the next stitch marker. Now make one to the right, knit one stitch, slip the marker, knit one, make one to the left, continue to knit until the last 4 stitches, and work the last 4 stitches as they appear. Knit, purl, knit and purl. On row 21, work the 4 stitches as they appear, the first 4 stitches, then continue to purl, and until the last 4 stitches you are working the last 4 stitches as they appear, and I will see you on row 22. I'm about to start row 22, and even if I said before that I won't change the needles, actually I will, because otherwise I can show you the work complete. So let's start with row 22. Work the first 4 stitches as they appear, and then continue to knit until you reach the stitch before the marker. Now make one to the right, knit one, slip the marker, knit one, make one to the left, knit 5, Now make one bubble, make 5 stitches in the next stitch, knitting back and forth the stitch. Now you can drop the stitch, turn the work, purl these 5 stitches, I want to show you something. These needles are no brand. These are from Tiago, and look at the difference. It is important, if you never worked bubble stitches before, to have a good pointed needle. It will be easiest for this part when now you need to knit these 5 stitches together through the back loop. Drop the stitches, pull tight this new stitch, and at the same time push the bubble in the front of your work. Knit 5 stitches, make a bubble in the next stitch, make 5 stitches in the next stitch by knitting back and forth in the same stitch, turn the work, purl these 5 stitches, turn the work. Now knit these 5 stitches together through the back loop. Pull tight and push the bubble in the front, work 5 stitches, and in the next stitch work a bubble by knitting 5 stitches in one stitch, working back and forth in the same stitch. Now turn the work, purl these 5 stitches, turn the work. Now knit these 5 stitches together through the back of the stitches, pull tight, push the bubble in the front, work 5 stitches, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we've reached the stitch before the marker. Now make one to the right, knit one, slip the stitch marker, knit one, make one to the left. Now knit all the way the stitches until you reach the stitch before the next marker. Sorry for the noises, but my needles are very close to my table. Again, make one to the right, knit one, slip the marker, knit one, make one to the left, knit 5 stitches, work a bubble in the next stitch by making 5 stitches in this stitch, working back and forth the stitch. Now turn the work, purl these 5 stitches, turn the work again, and knit these 5 stitches together through the back. Pull tight, knit 5 stitches, work a bubble in the next stitch by knitting 5 stitches in the same stitch back and forth, turn the work, purl these 5 stitches, turn the work. Now knit these 5 stitches together through the back, pull tight the new stitch and push the bubble in the front, work again 5 stitches, knit 5 stitches, 2, 4, 5, and work again a bubble. In the next stitch you will work 5 stitches back and forth in the same stitch, turn the work, purl these 5 stitches, turn the work again, and knit these 5 stitches together through the back loop. Pull tight the new stitch, push the bubble in the front with your fingers, knit the next 5 stitches, I am at the stitch before the next marker. Now make one to the right, knit 1 stitch, slip the stitch marker, knit 1 stitch, make one to the left, and continue to knit until the last 4 stitches. Now work the last 4 stitches as they appear. I have a knit, a purl, a knit, and I'm ending the row with a purl stitch. Let's see how the work is looking so far. This, my friends, is our raglan part until now. It is nice. So these are the sleeves, the chest, and the back parts. Now we are working row 23. Work the first 4 stitches as they appear, then continue to purl until your last 4 stitches, and again you will work the last 4 stitches as they appear, and I will come back for row 24. Row 24, knit 1, purl 1, knit 1, purl 1, and then continue to knit until you reach the stitch before the marker. Now make one to the right, knit 1, slip the stitch marker, knit 1, make one to the left, continue to knit until you reach the bubble. Now pick up the loop here and knit the loop together with the stitch. Continue to knit until you reach the next bubble. Pick up again this loop here and knit together with the stitch. Continue to knit until you reach the next bubble. Again, pick up the loop here and knit together with the stitch. Continue to knit until the stitch before the marker. Make one right, knit 1, slip the marker, knit 1, make one left, and then continue to knit until the stitch before the marker. Now make one to the right, knit 1, slip the stitch marker, knit 1, make one to the left, continue to knit until you reach the bubble. Pick up this loop here and knit together with the stitch. Continue to knit until the next bubble. Pick up again the loop here and knit together with the stitch. Continue to knit until the next bubble. Pick up the loop and knit together with the stitch. Continue to knit until the stitch before the marker. Now make one right, knit one stitch, slip the marker, knit one stitch, make one to the left, continue to knit until you reach the last 4 stitches. And then work the last 4 stitches as they appear. I have a knit, purl, knit, and I'm finishing the row again with a purl stitch. And this was row 24. On row 25, you already know on the back of the work we are working the first 4 stitches as they appear, then purl until the last 4 stitches, then work the last 4 stitches as they appear, and I will come back for row 26. Row 25 is complete. Before we start with row 26, let me tell you how many stitches I have so far. So here on this part, half of the back, I have 21 stitches. On the first sleeve I have 29. On the chest I have 38. Again on the sleeve 29, and on the other half of the back another 21 stitches. Okay, row 26, we are increasing as we did before, the first 4 stitches as they appear, and then we continue to knit until we reach the stitch before the marker. And then I am making one to the right, knit 1 stitch, slip the stitch marker, knit 1 stitch, make 1 to the left, then continue to knit until you reach the stitch before the marker, and then continue to increase as we've made so far, exactly the same. And I will come back once I reach my last 4 stitches. My last 4 stitches on row 26, I am working the stitches as they appear. As you can see, on every increased row, or should I say with every increased row, we are gaining 8 stitches. Okay, 2 stitches before and after each marker. Now on row 25 we will work the first 4 stitches as they appear, and then we will continue to purl until the last 4 stitches, and then on the last 4 stitches we will work the stitches as they appear, so on row 27. And this is how my work looks so far. We are very close to the part where we will separate the sleeves from the rest of the work. We are very, very close. So work row 27, the back row, as I said, and I will come back for row 28. Row 28, we start with the first 4 stitches edge as they appear, then continue to knit until the stitch before the marker, Now make one to the right, knit one stitch, slip the stitch marker, knit one, make one to the left, knit 5 stitches, and in the next stitch it's time to make a bubble. So in the next stitch we are working 5 stitches back and forth. Now turn the work, purl these 5 stitches, turn the work, and now knit these 5 stitches together through the back, pull tight, knit 5 stitches, make one bubble, knit or work 5 stitches in the next stitch, back and forth, turn the work, purl these 5 stitches, turn the work, knit these 5 stitches through the back together, pull tight this new stitch, and at the same time push the bubble in the front of your work, then knit 5 stitches, 2, 4, 5, work again in the next stitch a bubble by making 5 stitches in the same stitch back and forth, turn the work, purl these 5 stitches, turn the work, and knit together through the back these 5 stitches. Take care to not grab another stitch. Pull tight, push the bubble in the front. Now knit another 5 stitches. Two, 4, 5, and again work a bubble in the next stitch by making 5 stitches in the same stitch. Turn the work, purl these 5 stitches, turn the work, and knit these 5 stitches through the back together. You now have again 1 stitch, pull tight, push the bubble in the front, knit the next 5 stitches, we are at the stitch before the marker, make one to the right, knit 1 stitch, slip the marker, knit 1 stitch, make one to the left, and continue to work in a knit stitch until you reach the stitch before the next marker. I'm at the stitch before my marker. Make one to the right, knit one, slip the marker, knit one, make one to left, knit 5 stitches, and in the next one we are working a bubble by knitting back and forth in the same stitch 5 stitches. Now turn the work, purl these 5 stitches, turn the work, now knit these 5 stitches together through the back of the stitches. Pull tight this new stitch and at the same time push the bubble in the front of your work and knit the next 5 stitches, 3, 4, 5. In the next stitch we are making another bubble, so knit back and forth 5 stitches in the same stitch. Now you can drop the stitch, turn the work, purl 5 stitches, turn the work, now knit these 5 stitches together through the back of the stitches. Now pull tight the new stitch and push the bubble in the front of your work. Knit 5 stitches. And now make another bubble in the next stitch by first knitting 5 stitches back and forth in the same stitch. Now turn the work and purl these 5 stitches. Turn the work and knit these 5 stitches together through the back. Now pull tight the new stitch and push the bubble in the front of your work. Knit 5 stitches, and again work the last bubble. Turn the work, purl these 5 stitches, turn the work and knit these 5 stitches together through the back. Now pull tie the new stitch and push the bubble in the front. Knit the next 5 stitches, and I am at the stitch before my marker. Now we make one to the right, we knit 1 stitch, slip the marker, knit 1 stitch, make 1 to the left, and continue to knit the rest of the stitches until you reach your last 4 stitches. So these are my last 4 stitches, and I will work them as they appear. So I have a knit, purl, knit, and I am ending this row with a purl stitch. This was row 28. On row 29 we will work the first 4 stitches as they appear. We will continue to purl until the last 4 stitches, and the last 4 stitches we will work as they appear. And I will meet you on row 30, and on row 30 we will separate the sleeves. I've done row 29 and I'm about to start row 30. As I said, on this row we will separate the sleeve from the rest of our work. We will place the stitches for the sleeves onto yarn holder. But first I want to tell you how many stitches I have here. So on this first part, which is half of my back, I have 23 stitches. On my first sleeve I have 33. On my chest part I have 42 stitches. Again, on my second sleeve I have 33, and on my other half of the back of my work I have another 23 stitches. Now we starting with the first 4 stitches edge that we are working as they appear. And now I will continue to knit until the stitch before the marker. Now we make one to the right, we knit 1 stitch, I will take the marker. Now I will cast on 4 stitches. This is the underarm. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I take my tapestry needle. I have here my yarn holder, let's say, and I will pick up these 33 stitches, which are representing my first sleeve. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30, and 33. Placing this marker 2 aside. And I will make here a knot to be sure that I won't lose my stitches. Now I will knit 1 stitch, then I will make 1 to the left, and I will continue to knit until I reach the stitch before the marker. So I'm at the stitch before the marker. Now I am making 1 to the right. I knit 1 stitch, take off the stitch marker. I will cast on 4 stitches, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now I will place the stitches for the second sleeve on my yarn holder. Remember, you need to have here 33. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30, and 33. Taking off this marker 2, I will pull the yarn through the stitches, make here a knot, and now I will continue to work. Knit 1 stitch, make 1 to the left, and then continue to knit until you reach the last 4 stitches. and then work the last 4 stitches as they appear. This is how the work looks so far. On row 31, we are working as we did before. The first 4 stitches as they appear, then we continue to purl until the end, until the last 4 stitches. Okay, I will come back once I reach my last 4 stitches. My last 4 stitches on row 31, and it's time to work another buttonhole, because if you count the stitches, the rows, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So after 10 rows, we make the buttonhole. So I will knit 1 stitch, yarn over, knit 2 stitches together, and purl the last stitch. I've completed row 31. After row 31, you should count 100 stitches. Okay, from here to here, now we have 100 stitches. For the next rows, for the next 10 rows, until we need to work another buttonhole, we are working in stockinette stitch. So knit on the front side, purl on the back side. Only the first 4 stitches and last 4 stitches we are working in 1 by 1 rib. So I will come back with you once I have my 10 rows. So I will come back at row, I think 42. No, I will come back after row 41. Okay, with the row 41 I will have complete my 10 rows. Okay, so now we are starting row 32, and I will come back once I worked until row 41.